불멸의 전사 2.
Part of this great team.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't think it was Dark because Dark actually lost, I believe, to Bomber's like pure bio, right? And like his just pure Marine force.
Okay, so it must have been Sue.
It must have been Sue. But taking a look at these two players, aLive has definitely been around in Starcraft 2 much longer. He's an IPL champion. He's a long timer in the GSL. aLive's 2-0 versus BrAvO as well. But they haven't played. I mean, the fact they've only played against each other twice. It's a very telling because this includes all of StarCraft 2.
Let's see the votes here. It is again foreigners versus Koreans.
It's a very close vote. You know, I think that the foreigners really just remember aLive's old times and his recent success.
Yeah, recent success. BrAvO having some recent success of his own. Let's see who's going to take it here. Game number 2. Up here in the top right, in the red, from the Afreeca Freaks, our Terran player, it is aLive.
I'm liking his glasses. Those are new. And bottom left, his opponent in blue. It's BrAvO. Everybody, give him a round of applause. Yeah, I think this could go either way. I just going back to the predictions, the Korean commenters, I think, have more faith in what BrAvO accomplished in like the immediate matchup versus the Zerg that we can't remember which must have been Sue. Which, like, I don't know why. I mean, I cast.
Let me check
like,
that quickly. Okay.
I literally cast every day last week and this week of StarCraft 2, so like things starting to become a bit foggy.
I got this saved in my phone here. Hold on.
I'm like, I can't believe he doesn't know. I'm like, I cast every. You guys didn't even watch all the games. Anyway.
Oh no! He played against CJ. It was Biel.
Yeah, I was about to say
Biel
because
and King Sejong Stage.
Because they couldn't have been a doubleheader for SKT because their doubleheader is this week. I'm like, I trusted you, fellas, but it's fine. But aLive has looked like overall throughout 2016 like a more powerhouse player. Had a really good performance in both the GSL and the SSL, and was being fielded a lot for Afreeca, helped them secure their spot in the playoffs. And I think that's kind of what the foreigner side of things is looking at, is like his overall 2016, whereas the Korean competition is probably focusing on like, he beat Biel. Okay, I mean, that's, you're talking about BrAvO.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope there would be some more analysis on the Korean side on why else they would go for BrAvO, you know? I mean, he did have a lot of successful TVTs in 2015 too. So you were talking about aLive, he's got some great TVT, but BrAvO does as well. So maybe they're saying like, they're both good at TVT, they're both good at the matchup rather. So, you know, BrAvO's looking good within the last couple of weeks, compared better than aLive, I suppose, and so maybe that's why they go for him. Either way, it is going to be a TVT on Overgrowth. This could look like a lot of old games from the past on this map. And both players opening gas first, something we're seeing to be a lot more common these days.
Yeah, definitely so. It's also kind of created an increase in proxy Marauders and proxy Reaper builds, as we saw Maro actually do 2 Reaper proxy yesterday. It's kind of the new way of countering this as well. It's a risky build to go for gas first, but we do see it every now and then. But we do see a fast CC coming up with this for BrAvO, so he's a little bit vulnerable here. Has his Reapers spread, and this could do a lot of damage coming up for aLive. Luckily, the CC finished, because if he had gotten here a few seconds before, he might have been able to force a cancel on that.
Yeah, look at the top of the ramp, though. He does have a Marine and 1 Reaper and 1 Heli in there, so he is going to be able to hold that ramp. aLive is just going to try to attack that CC. Meanwhile, there's an idle SCV around that CC. You just realized that.
Yeah, when
the Reaper here gets a full scout to the base of aLive.
He's going to see that it's either a Raven or a Banshee coming out of this starport. At first, when I saw the second SCV, I was like, God, wow, aLive's so smart. He knows he's going to need a second SCV to make sure the CC doesn't get canceled. But it was just a rally, this rally. As we see a big rally here to try to kill that Reaper. It's still alive.
Yeah, this is not going well on the defense for aLive.
This looks
as
like
he
when,
finally brings his units back.
This is like when you and I play TVT together, and like whoever didn't do the Reaper build like gets attacked, and like.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was like when the beginning of Legacy of the Void Beta, you and I played so many TVTs together.
That we did.
But Siege Tanks coming out for both players here. Looks like we're going to kind of slow down, but aLive doing Reactor Vikings. So he's going to have control of the sky early on. He also has, obviously, that Raven, which is going to help him control the skies. And
yeah, he's got a nice little push coming up here. He does not have a third CC on the way, but he's already making tanks, as is BrAvO, but aLive is going to have massive control of the sky here. He does check the watchtower here through the line of sight blocker, but he actually wins because BrAvo's not paying attention. But just to finish my point, he's going to have massive control of the sky with the Raven and the extra Vikings that are being pumped out. And he may want to attack here on 2 bases. Let's see what he wants to go for.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm trying to really figure out what aLive is thinking starport-wise, because he was making 2 Vikings at a time. They stopped for a minute. You see that BrAvO is kind of countering this with the scout he got earlier, perhaps, seeing that it was most likely a Raven since no Banshee came across the map. And he's like, oh, you're behind in Vikings now, and you've got this Raven coming. You could be doing a push, so I'm going to also reactor out my own Vikings. If BrAvO holds this pressure, okay, look, he even scans and confirms. If BrAvO holds this pressure, he's going to be in such a great spot economy-wise with the 3rd CC. It's not going to be easy to hold. He doesn't have a bunker. He doesn't really have anything on the ground.
And you remember, on this map, tanks can sit over by the right side gas here for BrAvO. You can just siege him up and begin to shell that gas. And I believe that mineral line as well.
Looks like that's what he wants to do. And these Reapers are going to scout out what's in position here, which is 1 tank for the time being. But he has air control with this Raven, even with the defender's advantage here. Oh god, this is not looking good. He needs to get the rest of his Vikings over.
Yeah, the Vikings grouping up here. He wants to wait, and look at that. The scan goes down, and in fact, he does blow up one of the tanks of aLive. So far, very nice defense here from BrAvO. Forces the PDD, then backs off, and now I think he's even got more Vikings in the sky, at least grouped up with this army. Yeah. And now he's going to force aLive back, and just aLive has to make a 3rd CC behind BrAvO.
This is a really good position for BrAvO. But, you know, when you have air control, sometimes it doesn't always mean you can just siege up, because you have to clear the air of your opponent first. And then once he did, aLive was like, well, or rather BrAvO was like, well, I already still have more than you, and I'm just going to scan and finish that tank off. And then there just wasn't any more to be done there, even with the Raven and the PDD. So both players are going to go ahead and add their eBays. We're going to see upgrades coming slowly. This is a lead for BrAvO, but it's not a massive lead. And this is a very aggressive move, in fact, with a turret. It's going to kill an SCV, but he's kind of lucky that BrAvO didn't commit there, because I think he had the better Viking count.
Yeah, it's very, very close. It looks like it's 7-5 right now. I think BrAvO may have bursted down 1 Viking, and of course there was no PDD that was used. Generally, you don't see this many Vikings made in this matchup. Me and Artosis were casting, and I'm like, usually it's like 3-2, and then the guy who had 3 wins, and then it's like 2-1 or like 1-0, and then that other guy that's behind makes 2, and then it's like 2-1, right? Because generally you want to be making medevacs, you want to be picking up tanks. Obviously, for these tank evacs, then you don't want to make too many Vikings. You don't want to overmake them because you want the air control, but you need those medevacs as well. You need those other units from that starport.
Well, you know what's funny is I think the reason why we have this is because of how this game started. There's like no bio yet for either player. Looks like aLive is kind of a little bit ahead on that as the slightly faster sim and the slightly faster barracks coming up. But you know, when there's no Marines to hit the Vikings, like the Vikings and the tanks are all that matter, and you don't even need that many tanks. As you can see, 2 tanks here on the ground, and medevacs are just here to bring the tanks across. Down goes the Raven, and this is a better Viking count for BrAvO. He's killing so many SCVs. Here comes the small amount of bio, but he can just lift up with the medevacs, and there he does.
Yeah, instantly lifts up. It looks like he's on the chase with his own tanks, but Vikings left over, and BrAvo's just going to float away. He's totally fine. These medevacs are going to get repaired. Looks like maybe one of them did go down, and aLive has held. But he's taking a bit of damage here, and he's definitely behind the amount of units that BrAvO has here, and definitely behind on SCVs at least.
It's good that these tanks escape for BrAvO. You know, aLive was almost at enough bio on the ground to be able to hold that off just by stemming forward and catching these. I think that's part of the reason why we don't see as many medevac, or rather as many Vikings in this matchup, is because you can't pick off tanks and medevacs if there's Marines under them and the player is controlling properly. But there was just no bio until this point, where aLive now finally has this. But look, He doesn't have anything in position here, so he's going to have to evacuate this base. And if he wants to attack into that with BrAvO, it's never going to be efficient, and he probably won't kill anything.
Yeah, and look at this. At the same time, another drop coming out here. BrAvO is being the aggressive one in this matchup, and it's definitely going to help him out. Gets these 2 tanks into the main, as well as a small contingency of these Marines, about only 5. And so aLive is going to have to try to deal with both of these drops at the same time.
Look at how difficult it is for him to clear up those 2 tanks. He's even like bringing over a medevac full of Marines. And look, he's going to try to cancel combat shields here. He's targeting it down. Not going to happen, though.
Not quite going to happen, and he is going to lose a bunch of these units. Trying to micro, in fact. I feel like he should have just gotten out of there, but either way, does survive with one of his tanks.
Oh, this base almost went down, too. aLive is really being taxed here by all these aggressive moves from BrAvO. Almost killing the combat shields. That would have been nice if he grabbed that. Obviously, it would have given him a big lead and might have even been able to try to finish the game with a bio push. But he's still ahead, and that was really efficient for him. aLive's combat shields do finish up here. Yeah. 5 tanks to 5 tanks with a bigger bio force for BrAvO, and he's just going to go for another attack in the main.
He's got more medevacs, so he can lift up more of these tanks, and aLive is out of position. A scan comes down, he sees it now, but everything is in position in the main. Not sure how aLive is going to defend against this.
I don't think this is the way. He's going to take so much siege tank fire here. He brings over his bio, but it's funneling into the choke point, and that's never going to work.
Oh boy, one of the sloppiest defenses we've ever seen. Small group of Marines comes over and just kills a tank, and that just maybe lights out here.
It looks like
for our
BrAvO
boy aLive.
GG. And there you have it. So we will take that match. You know, it was very much an early lead from that defense. And then he just kept attacking. He really showed us some great harass in TVT. Very aggressive, never afraid of the bioforce of aLive. And aLive did have somewhat of a slower defense. That second defense, I feel like just was not even an option. I think he should have just tried to go for a counterattack or something, which is also not good. But never ever want to fight into like a funnel where your opponent's got siege tanks and way more siege tanks than you.
In your main, right? Yeah, I mean, it was just the little things here and there, right? The attack was not clean. When he first went for that, he lost a tank, was not in a great position. His Vikings didn't get the fight they needed. He did not even have control of the air with the Raven. So he committed to that, got behind, and then the harass from BrAvO was not nicely defended. He had nothing to spot on the right side of the map. No center tower, none of that. This map, Overgrowth, is so easy to drop in the main. You have to be ready for that in TVT, but he just was not.
Yeah, also
he had 1 turret.
The 2 siege tanks on the left side, hitting the 3rd base as well. He really struggled to deal with that, and the second he finally almost kill the tanks, BrAvO pulls out and attacks the main. And he's like, well, you got your bio in the wrong spot. You're losing too much. He almost forced a cancel on combat shields, which would have ended the game even faster.
So BrAvO looking good, aLive slowly but steadily, like going on like this kind of downslope. I wouldn't say he's on in any kind of slump or anything like that, but just did not look as good as BrAvO in that game for sure. So guys, it's now 2-0 for Samsung. We are going to take a 3-minute break. We'll be right back.